The coaches these days are all talking about how to write a book in 30 days, but is that a good strategy for your business? I don't know. We're gonna have to look into this one. As someone who has published 6 books, I definitely have some things to say about this. And we all know that business coaches talk a lot of bleep. So what the do I think about this? Let's find out. I'm Amy Walker, Client Acquisition Specialist, and my job is to help you find the best ways to create consistent, predictable sales through your organic marketing and scalable sales strategies. I'm gonna be honest here. I think trying to write and publish a book in 30 days is really bad advice.
Very bad. Very, very, very bad.
Can you write a book in 30 days? Yes, and I'm absolutely going to show you how in this video. But here's what I will tell you. Slapping together some crappy book and trying to put it out there into the world and trying to get it done as fast as possible, a bad book is not going to help your business. So I want to show you today, how do you get a good book done quickly and make sure that you're not missing any critical steps in the process. Because I'll tell you, my first book, it's a good book. I wrote it in 5 days, which is quite the feat. I was writing like 16,000 words a day. However, I missed the mark with my strategy for that book. So even though that book was a lot more work, that book is a lot higher word count, my second book has made way more money than that first book was because I dialed in my strategy. So if you've been thinking about, I want to get a book so that my business can be more successful and it will help me grow and get more clients, great. This is the video that you need to watch before you jump into writing. But we'll also talk a little bit about the publishing side as well. First, before you start writing, you have to determine the primary function of your book. What's the purpose? Is it to get clients? Is it to get speaking gigs? Is it to make money selling the book? It's essential that you have a clear purpose in your mind because that's going to guide the direction of the book and all of the things that you decide to do. So I mentioned my first book, Walk Your Talk, Take Ownership, and Lead Like You Mean It, is the reason why, even though it's a good book, the reason why it's not a good book for my business, it was the wrong book to write, is because it does not lead into any of my products or services. What it is really good at is helping clients who are already in my programs learn how to be better leaders. But I don't have any programs that are just around leadership. And I'm not known as a leadership expert. I'm a sales and organic marketing guru, and yet I have this random leadership book that's really good, but doesn't bring me any new clients. So that's the very first thing you've got to figure out is when you look at the strategy, what am I trying to get this book to do for me? That will guide every decision that we make moving forward. If your goal is to actually make money selling the books, then it is essential that you start off with category research. You need to go in and look for sub-genres that have an audience that is already looking for those books. And they're what we call in publishing a thirsty audience, meaning a lot of people are trying to buy books there, but there's not a lot of books available. That's going to help you be able to write a book that will consistently sell. The other thing is that you want to think in terms of series and creating multiple books, because what will happen is if you're trying to make money on the books themselves, you need a back catalog. This is where you have multiple books written, and because people liked book number 1, they're going to like book number 2, they're going to like book number 3, and they'll just read all the way through. So pick the right categories where you can be successful and then build a back catalog. Now, if your goal is to get clients or to get speaking gigs, then you're not going to need to look at the categories first, but you will want to look at those categories right before you publish so that you can list them in places where they will be likely to be found. For example, writing a general business book and putting it in the big categories, you're never going to be able to win there. There's too much competition.
I'm going to crush you.
But writing a business book and saying, I want this book to be shown to plumbers, you probably could be #1 bestseller in business books for plumbers if you choose the right categories. And now you'll have new audiences that are looking for things and they can find your book. If this is helpful, hit the like button and leave me a comment so that I know that we're hitting the mark and giving you what you feel like you need. Also, if you're new to the channel, make sure that you subscribe and hit the bell notification so you can get notified every time we release new content. All right, assuming that your goal with this book is to get more clients and to get new business and to get booked for speaking gigs, the very first thing you want to do is figure out, what am I trying to sell? And then what is the conversation that people need to have before they are ready to buy? Then we're going to look at who is the audience that I want to buy from me. And all of those things need to align. So what do we want them to buy? What's the conversation they need to have that gets them ready to buy? And then who do I want to even be going through this book? That's the work that we have to do and lay that foundation before we start writing. So book strategy, I would say that could take you a day or two to just really do the keyword research, get clear on what you're trying to accomplish, map it out. Now we're going to begin the writing process. And the writing process, I do believe, should be done in 30 days when you're trying to produce a business book. Because while you are trying to produce a book, it is very time consuming and it's very distracting and it doesn't make you money. So when I watch people spend 6 months, 9 months working on their book, I'm like, oh my gosh, we need to get you some leads and some sales calls. But they're like, I have to get my book done. I have to get my book done. I have to get my book done. And I'm going to be honest, I don't see their books turning out a whole lot better than if they had just sucked it up and written it within a shorter period of time. So let's talk about how we get the writing done faster. First thing we've got to do is we have to outline. So your outline is going to help you to be able to write more efficiently. What I do with the outline is I go through and I create sections for the book, and then I go in and I say, what do I want the chapters in the book to be on? And then I outline each chapter. After I have the chapters outlined, then I'll start going through and doing the writing sprints, which will help me write faster. But I'm telling you, a book where you don't have an outline is going to take you months to write, sometimes years.
It's been 84 years.
A book where you spend 2-3 days really dialing in on your outline can be written in a week to 2 weeks. Next thing we're going to do is writing sprints. The writing sprint is going to help you to be able to stay focused for a specific period of time and increase your word count. What I like to do is 1 hour writing sprints with a 15-minute break. And what will happen is I start at the beginning and I write down my starting word count. Then I set the timer, I write for an hour, I write down my ending word count, and then I take 15 minutes off, and then I come back and do it again. For me, I'm not saying this is going to be the key for everybody, but for me, what that allows me to do is really amp up my word count. So the first hour, I'll probably write about 1,400 words. By the third or fourth writing sprint, I'll be at like 2,200 words for that same hour. Now, once I get to a certain point, and for me, it's like hour 8, the number starts to go down. So for me, writing more than 8 hours is really unproductive, but also only writing for 1 or 2 hours is really unproductive because my peak is right in the middle. I will be getting more words per hour during that time than I would any other time of the day. So the key to being effective with your writing sprints is to, number 1, free your space of distraction. This is not the time to have notifications popping up on your phone.
Notification.
I close down all my tabs on my computer except for my research tabs, which are usually like my thesaurus and Google if I need to look something up. Make sure that you have water. Make sure that you've gone to the bathroom beforehand. And make sure that you have food or snacks or you've eaten so that you don't get 15 minutes in and all of a sudden your brain's like, you know what would be a really good idea right now? We should go get some snacks. That's what we need. And it just throws you off. So writing sprints can allow you to be able to get the bulk of this done in short windows of time. I personally like to go and do what I call a workcation, which is where I will go somewhere else that's not my home without my children, and I will just write for like 5 days, get the book done. That is easier for me to manage than it is to try to find a writing day every single week, but for some of you, that might be easier. Figure out what's going to be your standard, if it's writing 3 hours every day or making a workcation or picking a day and cranking out word count. Up to you, but I would recommend that you try to get this writing process done in 30 days so it doesn't drag on and affect your profitability and productivity in other areas. Let's talk about the balance between quality and speed. I mean, a bad book is not going to be good for your business. So don't sacrifice quality because you're trying to go fast, but go as fast as you possibly can while still maintaining a quality book. If you don't hit your goal of having it written in 30 days, well, you know what? You're so much closer than if you had a goal of writing it in a year. So just be kind to yourself, but remember, we are not sacrificing quality here. Now we get to publishing, and it really is essential to understand the publishing process. Writing a book in 30 days is advisable. Publishing a book in 30 days is not. What I want you to do is map out a plan for finishing your publishing process and then really stick to your timeline. You're going to need to have an editor. A good editor will need your book for minimum of 2 weeks. My editor takes 6. So if we're trying to get it out in 30 days, and we have to go through an editor, and we have to go through cover design, and we have to go through formatting, that just isn't doable with still writing in a 30-day window. So map out the different steps. You are going to need to go through editing, and you might need 2 rounds. You might need a developmental editor and actually a copy editor. You will definitely need formatting, which is where you're actually getting your book ready to go to print. There are programs that you can use. Vellum is a really good one, and that will help you be able to simply get it ready, and it will put together the Kindle file and the publishing files. You're going to need to decide who you're publishing through. Are you going to publish through KDP on Amazon, or are you going to use Ingram Sparks and then distribute your books in lots of different bookstores? You've got some decisions to make there. When you go to list your book, you're also going to need to do some research, like what are the categories that you want to be listed in? What are the keywords? Writing the book blurb, hardest part of the whole process. That's going to take some time. And then you've got to do cover design. Now for my nonfiction business books, I really like this company that's called getcovers.com. Your cover is going to cost you $35. You do need to go in having done a lot of research to get a good cover out of them, because otherwise it's a little bit hit and miss. If you're vague, it's going to be a miss. If you go in and you say, these are my categories, these are the top selling books in my categories, this is what I like about them, you're going to get a pretty decent cover back. But again, you have to be a little bit more involved in that process. Still, we're talking $35 versus, a few $100, $200 or $300 probably is a more common cover price.
Saving money.
So there is a publishing timeline. Now, there's also a promotion timeline. And if your goal is to sell books and make money selling books, you need a longer promotion window before you launch the book. Just because it's ready doesn't mean it should be for sale. If your goal is that I want to use this to get booked on podcasts, I want to use this to get speaking gigs, I want to use this as a free opt-in, then you can, as soon as the book is ready, you can put the book out and start drawing attention to it and using it as a tool to promote your business. But even there, I would still recommend that you organize a book launch where you get together with different other influencers and you create something, some sort of collaboration or giveaway, or get together a street team to help you promote this book. But get the word out. That in itself is going to take a few weeks to organize and plan. So let's go back to the original question. Can I publish a book in 30 days? No. Can you write a book in 30 days? Yes. But in terms of publishing, I think minimum, least amount of time, and even I can hear my editor's voice in my mind being like, don't say it, Amy, don't say it. I think minimum you're looking at 60 days, but more realistically, you're looking at somewhere between 3 and 6 months from start to finish if you really want to have a good, solid book. And again, I've seen some bad books out there. I have literally had people give me their books, they're like, my book is my business card. And I look at them like, well, I'm not interested in your business because your book is terrible. Really bad books that they're trying to use to get booked on podcasts. And I'm like, no, I'm not interested in having this featured on my radio show or my podcast or my summit. So do yourself the service of just slowing down a minute, taking a breath, learning about the process, and doing a really thorough job. Now we've talked about should you write a book in 30 days? The next video that I want you to go watch is how to scale your sales. I can't wait to see you over there.